Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. I've been traveling a lot, and the idea of a suitcase has given me an interesting metaphor for how to think about narcissistic relationships. Let's take a look at that. Let's talk about suitcases. So if you've ever packed for a trip, and especially if you're a good packer, you're able to get your stuff into a relatively small bag. I feel like being able to pack light is a confidence game. You feel confident that you don't need to bring the kitchen sink, that you take this bare minimum. And the good thing is then on top of that, you're also not weighted down by lots of stuff you don't need. You're able to move quicker through airports and whatnot. If it's a trip where you feel in a good sense of control, you know what to expect. And as a result, you don't feel compelled to carry a bunch of stuff to be prepared for every possible contingency. For example, if you're going on a beach vacation to a very warm place, you would not carry a parka. If you're going on a business trip, you may not bring your scuba equipment. If you're going to a really cold place, you may not bring your flip-flops. You get the idea. I mean, these are extreme examples, but you'd be able to sort of keep it lean and trim. But again, there's a confidence in that. When we pack light, we move more easily. We're lighter. The initial idea for this video came from me packing for a trip and how I often get into my own way, right? I tend to pack with a disaster mentality. I put things into my suitcase that are almost a little odd because I'm so concerned about not having every single thing I need to manage every single contingency. On this particular trip, though, I had to pack light. So I was struggling with what I needed to bring. I recognized as I was going through this process that people who have been through narcissistic relationships, especially more than one narcissistic relationship, may find that they are trying to be prepared for every contingency. Being prepared and having, for example, something like having a sleeping bag, even though you're staying in a hotel, or binoculars when you'll be on a business trip, or bringing those mittens on a trip to Hawaii. Thinking, but, what if the plane has a layover in a cold place, or I have to sleep on the floor? Whatever the fear is, you're trying to prepare for all of it. Going through a narcissistic relationship often meant that you had to be prepared for any kind of weather or any kind of conditions, psychologically speaking, every day. That you may needed to have been ready for rage or laughter, for fun or peril, that you had to have the answers to everything and be able to solve the problems like MacGyver and be flexible and be prepared for disappointment. That you had to be ready when they changed plans at the last minute and then gaslighted you about it. That is one hell of a big suitcase. When you have survived a narcissistic relationship, you find yourself packing again heavier proverbial suitcases. You don't get to have the trimmed down, easy breezy ideal of being confident that things would go smoothly, that it would be okay even if you did forget that extra pair of shoes, that it would be okay and you could figure it out and there would be no problem. But when you're in, or you have been in narcissistic relationships, in a strange way, you have to be able to pack for every kind of situation. Be at the ready to soothe, appease, fix, unconfuse. And because most folks who've been in narcissistic relationships believe that there is something that they can say or do to make it better, you sort of believe that if you just had everything that was needed, that if your suitcase was like Mary Poppins' bag, limitless, and it had everything ever needed in it, that everything would be okay. But those heavy suitcases we need to pack weigh us down because it's not possible to pack for every single contingency. And when we believe we can, it's easy to feel frozen, as though we cannot pack it all, because who's ever going to remember everything for every contingency? I'll give you an example. Me who was trying to pack light. I recently took a trip to a place where I needed all kinds of formal wear. And remembering all of those details was daunting enough. Then I would have to go, the next part of the trip involved being someplace warm, where I could be casual in just a few t-shirts and some light pants. But then I decided to take a trek to someplace at altitude. And when I did that, the weather turned and I didn't have a proper parka and gloves, so I had to rent them. But all the people around me who had clearly traveled to this place, which is generally warm, all seemed to have the proper outerwear. And for the life of me, I could not figure out how they knew that they should pack a heavyweight winter coat to go to a place that was always 80 degrees or more. Now, for a minute, my old demons came out, and I wondered, how did I get it so wrong again? And I got so angry at myself when I paid for that rental parka. Then I sucked it up, and I rented the coat, and I froze my ass off for not having the gloves, but it was really cool where I went. Not just cold, but cool. A person who has been through a narcissistic relationship packs for a crisis, because every day in one of those relationships is a crisis. It's like packing a diaper bag for a baby demon. You will never have exactly the right pacifier to appease them, and you will always run out of diapers. And perhaps we have to remember that there is no way to appease them, that we cannot account for every emergency, that sometimes you are going to a fancy black tie event and still need a parka and could never have accounted for that. And that's okay. Because at the end of the day, there is no way to please them or soothe them. So that maybe we just stop trying and we pack that lean, mean, clean, and trim suitcase, recognize that we can rinse out our undies in the sink and we could figure out the rest if we forget it. The narcissistic folks were going to be mad at us either way, because you can never be prepared for everything in those relationships. So at least you can pack light and save your back and know that after surviving these relationships, that you're resilient enough to manage whatever comes your way, and you can focus on packing light and getting through the world far more easily. And I'm going to add one more thing to that suitcase. My new book comes out in February, so please give it a look. Please give it an order. You can pre-order it now, but check it out. Would love it if you had it. Thanks.